Welcome everyone. Today I'm super excited because I have again Nader Dabit, my friend, on my YouTube channel. I was looking at our last interview. It was the 20th of November 2020, so more than almost 1 hour, 1 year and a half ago. So how are you, Nader? How
Oh
has
wow, it's
been?
2020. It's been that long. I've been doing well. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, of course. It's always a pleasure. And I think the last time we have talked about your story. I remember that talking about your story about Stack Overflow and also on AWS, some other stuff. I can't remember if you were already talking about Web3 in that interview. I don't think so, or
No,
maybe I
I
can't
think I was
remember.
still focused mainly on cloud computing and full stack, full stack development, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and I think this is also shows how things moves so fast in development. Like after 1 year and some months, here we are talking about events out in the world. I don't know if you'll go to have Denver. Maybe
Yes,
yes.
I'm here now.
Nice. So thank you. Yeah. I missed this, but I'm planning to do some more events around the world. There's also one in Italy. Okay. Okay. So I think okay. So let's start another. Please introduce yourself again. There is the link of the last interview, but maybe someone I don't know who, but someone still doesn't know you. Please.
For sure. Yeah, I'm Nader. I am a developer relations engineer currently working in the blockchain and Web3 space. And I've been in this space full time since April of 2021. So we're getting around 10 months. So before that, I was a mobile developer. I was a cloud developer. I was a front end developer. Kind of transitioned into different phases throughout my career, learning something and then learning something new and focusing on that. And that kind of happened to me with like Web3 back in February of 2021 when I started really going into all this stuff and deciding I wanted to work in this space. And then within about 2 months, I had landed a role and I'd started. And it's been a really crazy last year for me.
Yeah, it has. I think almost for everyone, but I think especially for you, everyone, how are you? And I really wanted so bad another in this series again because when at some points I decided, I say that I was more working on the DevOps stuff. I also became a Docker captain. Super happy about that, by the way. But at some points I'd seen like this hype growing on Twitter. It was like April 2021. I think it started with you and I said, okay, should I start to look into that, or maybe maybe it's just a bubble, something like that. After a while, I decided, okay, so let's step into that, and I think that I've started by using your article. Maybe there we have a connection issue, but maybe it's reconnecting. Let me use these seconds to tell you that we are doing this live stream, so you can drop your questions about Web3, how to get started. And yes, Nader. So basically, I started with one of your articles. I can't remember exactly which one. Maybe one of them depth of two. Maybe now I'll check into that. So yeah. So and I really started to enjoy Web3 day by day. And so yes, yes, of course, yeah. And so another, if we probably will also have some questions soon, but I've seen that maybe we got a good timing because you have just released another article which is called the complete guide to full stack Web3 development. I'm trying to
Yes.
remember that. Okay, nice, I got it. And yes, so maybe we can start from that, or maybe we can start since the beginning. And
Yeah. I mean, regarding the article, I've been writing for about 6 or 7 years now, and I've found kind of, what people like and what people don't like, and essentially, the complete guide to full stack Web3 development is the fourth blog post in a series of full stack Web3 development. And I think that the reason that those articles have done so well, like that article's already been read 110,000 times and it's only been out for like 5 or 6 days or something like that. But the reason that those articles do so well is that they kind of piece everything together and kind of walk you through everything and give you code that you can literally just copy and paste along with a full example repo. And I think that when I started learning the Web3 development stuff. Oh, well, this actually is, I could kind of say apply this a little bit to pretty much everything I've ever gotten into. But I often found when I was diving into a nascent space that there wasn't a lot of end to end tutorials that kind of walk you through everything and don't assume anything. So when I started learning Web3, I noticed that certain tutorials would show you how to do just a single thing. So it might show you how to write a smart contract. It might show you how to call a contract from a front end. It might show you how to, interact with a contract from your wallet. But it didn't show you how to do all of these things and put them all together and build something that you could then take those skills and apply them to something else. So I think that's what I've done with most of my guides over the course of the last few years. It's always like putting these things together, and I think it especially did well in the space because it was very, very nascent back in 2021 in February, March when I was putting that article together, and I kind of was very fortunate to be coming in at an early stage of this space where there wasn't a lot of stuff. So if I wrote something, it would be kind of like the first of that kind, I guess, at the time that kind of like did all that stuff. So it was really a good place be the right place at the right time. So I wrote the complete guide to full stack Ethereum development, and that one has done really well. Like almost 500,000 people have read or watched that video, and I've essentially applied like all of the stuff I've learned over the past year into the complete guide to full stack Web3 development, building out just an example application. It might not be a real world application that you would want to actually, you could definitely use this in the real world. I kind of am going to be building my blog using this same stack, but like it's more about just learning how everything fits together. And then you can learn like these skills and then apply them to something else in the future.
Yeah, I think you're talking about this one, complete guide to full stack Ethereum development, right?
Yes, that was the first one I ever wrote. That was kind of really just when I was learning myself and putting all these things together, just the very, very bare minimum. Like, how do you just create a token? How do you just create a hello world smart contract and then call it? And then that's a very good first place to get started for EVM development.
I think I bought some ebooks that were shorter than these articles in my life, maybe on Gumroad sometimes. So I call this more ebooks than articles. So they are
it could definitely be something like that.
And people are waiting for this maybe more than like I don't know the Amazon Lord of the Rings series or something like that. Developers are really looking forward for that. And I can confirm that this was exactly my perception, because when a developer wants to get started, you start to see like pieces of puzzle, we can say. So maybe this concept, but sometimes it's hard to put them all together in the same place. So I think that that's the issue. I don't know if we have any question. No, for now, just compliments. So it's cool. It's cool. No, you're not late, you're just getting started. Okay, so would you like to start maybe since with the new article? Do you think that the new article is good to just get started, or do you suggest maybe to start with one of the first ones and then?
Yeah, I would say the new article is a little bit intermediate to advanced, even for like the person that's just getting started. I think I would start with the complete guide to full stack Ethereum development. That will walk you through everything to kind of just get going. And then I would take the complete guide to full stack Web3 development. I think I would do them in that order.
Nice. I'll also post that soon, and I've tried this on live stream. I didn't had time to edit that and to post this on YouTube because maybe I also want to try that. And okay, so I've seen that you have used some frameworks in the last article. Do you suggest to use exactly those to get started, and how do you suggest to get started? Because I got this question so many times. I'm new. People think that I'm an expert because I have some followers on Twitter, but the truth is that I've just getting started just some months ago. I don't know why people make this like, okay, you have a lot of followers, so you know everything. No, that's not true. I keep saying this to everyone, but I'll stay in the Web3 world for a lot of time. So
Yeah.
this is my goal, and this will be my goal for sure. So I'm sure that you can reply better than me. So how would you suggest to someone? Maybe let's try to think maybe some people that has some background, let's say, because if you start from zero, maybe it's hard to just get started with concept about blockchain if you are not a developer. So I think most of the people are like developers with maybe some months of experience, maybe some years, 1 year, let's say. So let's get this this example. So to those that kind of person, what would you suggest to do, basically?
Yeah, this is something that we have been really thinking about a lot at Edge and Node over the last year. And even when I joined, they already had a research team that was put together trying to figure out kind of the best Web3 stack or the tools, services, and protocols to kind of allow developers to build out decentralized applications in Web3. And I've done a lot of writing and a lot of tweeting and thinking about this stuff as well. And it comes down to like how you conceptualize building an app. So for me, when I came from AWS, I could think about my application broken apart into a few different pieces, like a database and a front end, and you know, a compute layer and maybe a file storage layer. I've talked about this quite a lot, but those are the kind of conceptions that I had, and those are the building blocks and the primitives I could use to build out an application. So I think taking that same approach to like Web3 or blockchain development makes a lot of sense. And therefore, we've thought about like, what is this Web3 stack? Now, you could literally look at all of the protocols that are out there, and you would have a list of over 1,000 or thousands of things. And it's very confusing for a developer to come in and see all that stuff. And if you go and you try to do research on which of these things you should use, the problem in, I would say, the blockchain space is that you have a lot of incentives for people to shill like the things that they have invested in because of the nature of the tokens that allow people to kind of get in early. Whereas in the past, like with a company like, I don't know, for example, something like AWS or even Vercel, like these traditional companies, getting ownership wasn't as easy early on. Like you had to be an early employee or something like that. Tokens, anyone can buy them. So you end up having people that try to shill a technology, not because it's good, but because they're invested in it. And I think cutting through all that noise is extremely hard to do when you're first getting started. So one of the things, again, that I'm focused on is like, what is the useful tools and protocols for developers, regardless of like anything, like what are just the best things to use to get started building. And I wrote a blog post called Defining the Web3 Stack. And that is probably a good place to start to get a good understanding of all of the different pieces that are there. But essentially, I think like the main difference when people think about Web3 is the blockchain. So I think figuring out starting from there is probably a good place to think about, because like if you've been a developer, you've probably written backend code. If you're a full stack developer, you've probably written a little bit of backend code that talks to a database. Even if you're a full stack front end developer, you've probably even done that because you might have used something like Firebase or Supabase or Amplify that allows you to kind of do that from the front end application. But with the blockchain, you're kind of moving into an entirely different paradigm. So, that's just one thing to consider. And I think the other thing to consider is like, which blockchain do you want to build on? And, I did a couple of like informal surveys recently just to get a good idea, because I have, tirelessly really tried to look into and investigate and understand the ecosystem and see where the developers are, because that tells me where the actual applications are going to be built and where the ecosystems are going to be growing. And overwhelmingly, like I found that most developers are building on the Ethereum virtual machine, EVM. That's kind of like the JavaScript or the React of the blockchain space, because you can learn this one skill set and then build on a bunch of different blockchains like Avalanche, Ethereum, and Polygon, and many of the most widely used ones. So like I would consider building on the EVM, or consider maybe learning Rust, because learning Rust is also similar to Solidity and the EVM, meaning that like you can build on a couple of chains. Now it's a little tougher, I think, with Rust, because like you don't have the exact same APIs that translate across all of the different smart contracts, because the Ethereum virtual machine isn't just Solidity, it's actually the execution and the runtime and how it all works together. Whereas if you learn Rust, you have to also learn the Solana programming model, and then you also have to learn the Polkadot programming model. And like, you kind of can't really apply those exact skill sets across the board. So it's really important to kind of maybe do own research and figure out, like, do I want to build on Solana, or do I want to build on Cosmos, or do I want to build on the Ethereum virtual machine? Because like once you figure out where you want to build, you're going to probably spend at least a month or two focusing on, understanding how to write business logic and write smart contracts. And if you've invested all that time in an ecosystem that doesn't have any developers or any users, then you kind of wasted your time, in my opinion. Because like, why would you want to build an application on a network where no one's actually using it, right? So like, do your research, follow me and listen to some of this, or look at some of the stuff that I share. I try not to inject my own bias into the conversations that I have. I try to reflect the things that I've seen within the ecosystem and do what's right for the developer. And I also kind of like treat my career that way. Like, I'm not going to work or build on a technology that I don't think is useful. So like, I quickly I'm very open to moving and changing my career trajectory based on what I see is like happening. And I've done that a couple of times, and I think that's kind of where I'm at today.
Nice, thank you. And for example, this is exactly what I'm doing now. I'm more focused on the EVM. So on purpose, I don't want to focus on understanding these multi-chain, multi-blockchain concepts, which are also important for some parts. But now, for example, for development, I'm just focused on Solidity, because I'm sure that this will give me an idea on how this ecosystem works. And then once I got the idea, I don't want to make the same mistake that I made years ago, that I wanted to learn all the JavaScript front-end frameworks at the same time. I think it's more or less just to give you an idea. Like, you have maybe a similar result. It's not the perfect analogy, but just to give you an idea. So it's better to focus on one and then say, okay, so I think in that case, you can also see maybe the advantages. Like, okay, so why should I prefer Solana instead of using AVM? If you at least you need to understand good one, and then you'll see. Let's start with some questions, because now they are starting to drop. So, hey Alex, at high level, what are some trends in Web3 that you are especially bullish on? Let's start with a bad one. Hard
Yeah,
one.
for sure. I mean, it kept up with all of the noise. Like, you've heard a lot about NFTs lately, which I think are obviously pretty interesting. I mean, I think just yesterday, one of the stock market announced that they're going to be building an NFT marketplace, and then you've seen like literally countless other announcements around NFTs starting to be integrated into all of the large companies and corporations and just ecosystems out there in the real world. So like, that's obviously pretty bullish. People think of NFTs and they might think of like an image or that you buy and sell, but I think like obviously the application of the NFT isn't the main thing to think about. It's more about the primitive that is the NFT and how we might apply that to other things in the future. And I think that's where people are actually realizing the value, and they understand that maybe we don't even have all of the current use cases like being shown right now in the real world, but having a platform for those primitives to like live and be traded on, and being a first mover, having that first mover advantage, like makes a lot of sense. So I think that's interesting. Like, I'm not like the most interested in NFTs. I own a few and I have fun like in those communities, but it's not my main focus. I think the thing that I'm most bullish on right now is DAOs and DAO tooling. The incentive mechanisms and the fundraising and the capabilities that DAOs have to offer are like orders of magnitude better than anything that we've seen before, I think. And I think that people are just starting to realize that, and they're applying them to really kind of sometimes stupid or dumb like use cases that succeed. But like, so like when you see people taking these wild ideas and doing like just goofy stuff and it actually succeeds, like you could think of when actual people start applying these same ideas and technologies to things that are actually really useful, then I think that you're going to see some really huge successes there. My first experience being involved in a DAO was with Friends with Benefits, just very like lightly. I just joined the community and kind of like joined the Discord and took part in a few conversations, and I thought it was pretty interesting. But launching a DAO myself taught me a lot, and the idea that you can kind of like give ownership of a community and therefore have more incentive for the people in that community to make that thing successful and be able to distribute the ownership and things like that is really interesting. And I think it turns the idea of fundraising on its head when you think about how some of these NFT projects have raised 20, 50, hundreds of millions of dollars within a couple of like weeks or a couple of months, how we might apply those same principles to fundraising for a DAO that is going to then use those funds to build out a company, or what we might have in the past thought of as a company that now might be something more like a DAO. Um, if you have a very experienced, sharp, smart software engineer that has a track record of building really great software, open source. Imagine if that person decided to launch a DAO and enable anyone that wanted to be a part of it to kind of have ownership in the future of what they were going to be building and also to participate. And then they offered some fundraising mechanism that allowed that person to kind of purchase some NFT or just some share in that company almost in the form of a governance token. That is really interesting and compelling. So I think DAOs and DAO tooling is going to improve a lot over the next year, and I'm almost certain that you're going to see some major fundraisers for software companies that are going to kind of like be maybe replicating something that we already see out there that doesn't have that never really enabled anyone to get in and have ownership other than like that very top 1%, the venture capitalists and the founders. Like people are going to copy some of those companies and ideas and build out a Web3 version of that that has more equitable ownership, more fair ownership that allows people to kind of be part of that and share in that value. And I think that you might see some disruption happening there as well.
Yes, yeah, I think we'll see. We also have a question about communities later. By the way, thank you for letting me into the developer DAO. I think it was the last day. I don't know if you remember that. You helped me out to step into developer DAO. I don't know if you remember that.
Nice.
Nice. Okay, so friend it hey there. Website name is 0x Viking. Nice. Australia on Web3. Nice. My question is. Do you think a roadmap with zero to master will be helpful for developers? I think in all Twitter spaces there is always this question about the roadmap. So this is more or less the topic of this live stream. So roadmap from zero to master or hero. I don't know, even security.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've seen a lot of people take different approaches to building out like what you might consider a roadmap. And I don't think like I would point someone to a single place and be like, oh, this is where you are gonna like become successful. Instead, I would probably put together a handful of different resources and point people to a few people to follow, a few Twitter accounts to follow, and a few YouTube channels. Like all these things kind of put together. I think we're really fortunate today. Is like 20 years ago, you might have had to say, okay, if you want to learn JavaScript, this is the book that you learn, and like there isn't anything else out there that you can learn. This is all we have. But today, we have probably 100 different places I could point someone to right now to learn Web3 that are all like good, and everyone learns in their own way. So I think if someone had something like that, like that would be great, but it wouldn't be probably like the end all be all. It would be more like, okay, this is another great place for you to kind of go learn. I think to master anything takes like a certain type of person and a certain type of commitment. I think that like the reason that there are $1 million job listings for Solidity engineers is because there aren't that many people that have been able to master that. Because if there were, then that job offering would not be $1 million a year because the supply of the engineers would be so high that everyone would want to take that role. But in reality, there aren't even enough people to kind of fill those $1 million roles because there aren't enough people that have mastered that. And it would be great if someone could kind of build out, the type of content to become a master auditor, for smart contracts. But the reality is, like, they're making more money actually doing the work or hacking or whatever than they would to actually write that. So, like, is there even a person capable of like writing that? That would be my next question. And if there is, that would be amazing. I would love to see it.
Yeah, and maybe now we have the opposite problem because, as you said, maybe 20 years ago we had just one book, so nobody was questioning about what's the best roadmap. We were just opening the book and start doing some stuff. So now maybe there
Yeah.
is this opposite problem.
Yeah.
Nice.
Maybe if, like, we all focused on like a
Yeah,
smaller set of,
I don't
well, I
know.
don't know, like, the
It's
more the
better.
merrier. I think now it's all about curation. Like, can you curate and understand
Mm.
what's good and what's bad? What are the good and not good tutorials out there?
Nice, nice. Okay, Iman, if I pronounced it well, self-taught developer, mastering front end, nice. And then I'm gonna go for backend and learn Web3. Is this a right path to become a Web3 developer? I think there are different opinions about that. What advice for self-taught devs like me? So maybe I think he's
Yeah.
asking like, is it worth to learn backend? Say all the backend, but okay, let's see your point of view. Another, sorry.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think it depends on what your goals are. If you're just looking to get hired, then you might only need to understand front end, and you might not even need to worry about the smart contract part beyond just the very very basic level. I think that a lot of Web3 projects are implementing some type of smart contract somewhere, but a lot of the work, like 95% of the work, is just UI work. So, for instance, we have Developer now. We have a website though that needed to be built. We have an event page that needed to be built. We have like all these front end pieces where we don't have a ton of smart contracts going on, maybe like one or two right now. So, like, you could literally just learn front end and get a job. If you wanted to be a full stack developer in Web3, you might make a little more money. Then you wouldn't even really need to learn traditional backend. You might just need to learn one of the blockchain environments. So again, for Ethereum or EVM, it would be something like Solidity and Hardhat and Ethers. If you wanted to learn Solana, you might learn Rust and Anchor, so on and so forth. So, like, for me, I would just if I wanted to get hired, I would just become a good front end developer, jump into a Discord where you might be able to start just contributing using your skill set, maybe apply for a grant. The biggest hurdle is just getting that first foot in the door. Like, if you can get connected to a team and do some work for them and actually deliver on that work, then you have provided more value than the average person and the 90% of people that they probably talk to. So therefore, they'll probably end up offering you a job anyway.
Yeah, and I think that it doesn't hurt to know how backend works now. I don't think that this can hurt you. It depends if you are
Yeah, for
really
sure,
in a
for sure.
super hurry.
The more you
And I
know, the
know,
better. But I feel
yeah,
like
of
it's
course.
overwhelming to kind of learn
The-
everything.
and I think that also there are a lot of tutorials which, like, they make like some analogies with the backend. So if you don't get the analogy, maybe it can also be harder to understand. I don't know, but I think that it's not something that we are missing, of course. And I think someone will say that, okay, this can also be an opportunity that also just to get maybe so let's say a regular job, or maybe there are some parts. So I don't know, maybe it's a missing part. Maybe you can regret in the future. Instead, now that you are in this transition part, you can say maybe it's still worth. I think maybe, I don't know, in 30 years, maybe it will not be worth. We live in a total different way, but now, for sure. Abbas, can you talk about some beginner level jobs in Web3 that are not too technical and something even new devs can make some money out of in the Web3 space? I like this question because I think we can help someone here.
Yeah, I think documentation is a really good place for someone that isn't very very technical to maybe contribute to. So pretty much every Web3 project out there, needs improved documentation. So that's one place that you might find a way to get in your foot in the door, is like being someone that's in charge of the documentation, and to kind of like stand out. You might even without them asking, go into their documentation, find some areas that can be improved, and just submit a pull request, or maybe go into their Discord and say, hey, like I want to submit a pull request for these changes. And if you can start contributing that way, you can definitely get a job. I mean, they'll probably start off with a grant, but you could obviously like land a role there. I think community roles are really great, and more specifically, understanding how to manage a Discord is something that's very, very valuable. So if you can just understand how to deal with Discord permissions and bots and things like that that don't require any coding, you could offer a lot of value for a Discord, and you might be able to kind of start by just contributing within the channel, become an admin or moderator, and then ultimately maybe apply for a grant to be a community person in there. So those are some good ways. I think community stuff in general like goes beyond just Discord and documentation. There's people that are community event organizers. So you might help organize an event for people to kind of get together and learn, set up a meetup. You could probably apply for a grant there. And if you deliver a couple of events, you might even land a full-time role. So I think Web3 rewards the people that are taking action, and that can be like the self-starter type of attitude or mindset versus the people that have to go in and say, oh, like, what do I need to do? If you can go in and figure that answer out for yourself and just do it without being asked, then those are the people that seem to succeed the fastest in Web3.
Nice. Just a really small tip because I'm checking the Ethereum docs, official docs, almost every day, and there are some parts when you can contribute. So maybe this is a good way to start because I've checked it and maybe I don't have time, but maybe you can go there. Sometimes there are some parts that are still maybe they need some some help. So they are always looking for some help. So maybe you can check, and even if you can't find anything, at least you are reading some stuff. So if you're interested, it can also be a little hack that you read some documentation while you maybe find a way to contribute to that. So okay, so here's the question. Binay, a friend of mine, also he's very passionate about Web3. So views about Web3 communities. I think you are the right person to ask this question. So Web3 communities, maybe not just DAOs, but communities in general.
Yeah, there's tons of Web3 communities, and they all seem to have very, very active and great members that are doing a lot of cool stuff. I think that I would join a couple of Web3 communities and just find ways to participate and be a part of those. I mean, but obviously, communities is a big part of Web3. I think even more so than maybe in the traditional software companies, because again, like I think it's a lot different when the incentives are aligned for a corporation to kind of like make profit off of all of the stuff that's happening versus like the community that is getting more of the rewards and the incentives where people know, like, you have there's this acronym like we're all going to make it, or the saying that you hear all the time, and it's actually it's very true. I think everyone really wants to see other people succeed, and we're out there helping other people, and there's more of a growth mindset and more of a like mindset that everyone can win all together, and it's not really a competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Maybe the only problem is that those communities are too active. So to jump in, maybe you need to stop a bit and read some of the messages, for example.
Yeah.
But I see this is a good thing. Come on. Yes. Okay, so this is a job question. We are trying to get this job opportunities question because I think there are people who are really maybe struggling, or maybe. So let's see if we can help them a bit. There are no Web3 job opportunities in my country. Is it possible to everyone to find remote work opportunities? And what countries are the best environments for this tech?
Well, I'm sure they exist. I haven't yet to see a Web3 team that is like in a location and that only hires in that location. So basically what I'm trying to say is like almost every Web3 team is international and they're remote already. So I wouldn't try to like find a role in your country. Instead, I would just find my way to get my foot in the door in a community, regardless of where they are, because everyone in our space is paying crypto payments anyway. So you don't have to worry about you know, at least 95% of the time. I'm sure there's some exceptions here, but in general, you don't have to worry about someone saying, "Oh, you live in this country, like we can't like hire you or pay you." Instead, it's more like, "Oh, you can contribute and be a person that is providing value. We're going to hire you." Like that's really the thing that most people care about. They don't really care where you live or how old you are or anything like that. Believe it or not. And you also see a lot of anonymity. So like there's a lot of anonymous contributors, some of them like making millions of dollars a year and no one even knows who they are. But they're providing value, and that's kind of the main thing that people are worried about. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about Web3 is that we have an international team with members in almost every continent, no, in every continent, as you know, and that's not a very uncommon thing to see. Actually, obviously not Antarctica, but every other continent.
Yeah, yeah, and for example, I also seen that now there are these events. Now you are in at Denver, right? So I think you are in the room of the hotel, I think, or something like that. And I think that I'm planning to go at least to two or three of them next on this year. At least the one in Italy, maybe Berlin and Lisbona. Let's see.
Oh,
But
nice.
at least one, otherwise I'll give up. But I really would like, I like this idea of organizing these events either in person or remotely. So probably this could also be an occasion. Maybe the one on New York. I don't know if you'll be there. Maybe there is a chance also to meet in person. I don't know when this will be. So maybe this can also be a way, for example, for you, Ayman, yeah, to know and network so with as many people as you can. Nice, nice. And I like this one, Abbas. How can one sell themselves the right way in this relatively new space? Relatively, I've seen one person asked me, like, "Is it too late to start with Web3?" So I don't think so. So relatively new space.
Yeah, I think that there is there's a lot of ways that you could kind of get your foot in the door, and everyone has their own way that they've done this. And I've seen a lot of people have found success in different ways for sure. But yeah, if you wanted to ask me, I mean, I think that yeah, it's hard to just give you a single answer to this. Um, Again, I think I might just reiterate that like Web3 often rewards the people that are taking action more so than the people that are asking the questions on what actions to take. So I think that being very, very like active within a couple of communities, like don't burn yourself out for sure, but like maybe think about like in your head, okay, like a year from now, if I could be working at any team or with any protocol, like who would those be? And I would just like narrow those down to like three or four. I would then join those community discords and follow the right people on Twitter and get involved with the conversations that are happening just by following those networks. And then I would do everything I can to learn about the challenges that those people are facing. You know, this probably wouldn't even take that long, maybe like a week or two, to join these communities, follow the right people, listening on these conversations, and then just find a way to provide value to them without them asking. Because like if you send them a message, oh, like what can I do? Well, there's a million things that you could do. What are you good at? And like it's going to take a lot of discussion to figure it out. But instead, like if you join these communities, you realize that there is a challenge that they're facing, and you take action and you provide a solution to that without them asking. They're going to notice that, and that's going to get you your foot in the door. And that could be in the form of a grant. It could be in the form of a full-time role. It could be in the form of maybe just like in some other opportunity that I can't really like predict, but there are a lot of opportunities there, and that's kind of the way I would say I would approach that.
Yeah, great answer. My 2 cents from my own perspective is that maybe you can create content. If you can on a daily basis, that would be awesome. But at least let's say on a weekly basis. So if you start creating content, I think you're never wrong. So you create some articles, you make some mistakes, you create some videos, some posts on Twitter, whatever. So I suggest to create some content out of this, and then you will decide also which parts would you like, do you like the most, and then you'll see. So you can't expect that you make a post per month and so you'll get $1 million of offer, of course, in your Twitter DM, or maybe yes, I don't know. For now, I don't think so. So yes. Let's say this one: did people's skills, soft skills, affected your career positively or negatively? People's skills, I like this definition.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a developer advocate, so I've had to really improve my people skills, and I'm still not that good about it. I think in person, especially, I feel very awkward and I have social anxiety and stuff. But I think it's just something that you have to really work on if you're a developer advocate to kind of have at least something there. You have to be able to communicate and stuff like that. But if you're just a software engineer, obviously being able to communicate is very important, but you don't have to be an extrovert, I don't think, to be successful. I don't think you have to be an extrovert to succeed in Web3, but you do have to be able to identify opportunities and take action. And a lot of times, figuring out what that is involves some form of communication. Now, luckily, we're mostly communicating like async on chat rooms. So you're not having these live interactions. You're more just messaging. And if you're comfortable with that, then, some people might bucket soft skills as communication skills. I think communication skills are definitely important. And I don't think there's something that people are born with. I think there's something that people hone in on and that they improve with practice. And, I do think it's important to educate yourself on what that might look like. So maybe pick up a book or two on effective communication, practice, talking to people. And I think that the rewards for that will definitely pay off. So that's kind of a general answer to that question. I hope that helped.
Nice. I think that you are a little bit too humble, Nader. You say that you have to still have to improve, but still you have already good at a good level. This is my personal point of view, and I think it will be hard for you to change my idea. So I think that we are doing good, and also
Thank
a
you.
lot
Thank
of
you.
people,
Always,
a lot of
looking to improve that for sure.
yeah. For I think that I've improved just a bit because I think 2 years ago for me it was also scary to send like an audio message on WhatsApp. In Europe, you use more WhatsApp, and instead now I'm here doing this live stream with you. So I think that I've improved massively. But yeah, it's also I also a world famous introvert on social media. Nice, another. So thank you so much also for your time because you're there. I don't know if you have some. I think I should check like the most important events there. Yeah, then I'll check some picture and I'll have some fear of missing out, of course. But yes, so Nader, can we give maybe a final message to people? I see that people are really excited. I've been in Twitter Spaces, live streams, and I always see that there is a lot of participation. People, there is some criticism, of course. This always happen when there is an improvement. I always see this kind of criticism, but let's say that I see a lot of. Yeah, I really like that the people are really excited when they talk about this kind of topics, even people who are just getting started. I feel like I am one of them. So how can we leave maybe a final message to someone who would like to get started?
Yeah, I think some of the challenges that Web3 has go beyond the technical challenges, and they go more along the messaging that we've provided for people when they're starting to learn and understand what we're doing here. I think that the term Web3 itself might be problematic because when you think about software and when you think about improvements, we often say we've moved on from like number one to number two to number three to number four, and therefore the past is obsolete. Where instead, I think Web3 does not make everything that we've done before obsolete. Instead, we're being provided more decentralized protocols like HTTP, FTP, SSH that we've been using that allow everyone to collaborate and build together. I think now we have more protocols that allow us to do things like native payments, native state, native internet native compute that just open the door for a wider range of applications. And we can continue to use all of the skills that we had in Web 2. And now we just have more things that we can build with. And it's not a replacement, it's an improvement. And I think that being in Web3 doesn't mean you're not also in Web2. It just means that you now are kind of taking advantage of some of these things that we now have. So if you've been intimidated or thinking about like, oh, should I choose one or the other? You can actually choose both, and you can be a developer. You can use all of the things that we've had in the past. You're just now having more opportunities open for you, I think. And that's kind of the way that I would look at it. And I would definitely recommend learning it, because I think that the more things that you learn, the more power that you have, regardless if it's technology or reading or anything. And, you know, if you learn how to cook and you enjoy that in your life, that's one thing, and that's great. But learning something that can impact people at scale is really empowering, and that's kind of what we're talking about here. So I would definitely recommend doing some research and checking this out. There's tons of opportunities, and it is fairly early. So if you get in to some of these teams, they're going to grow, and they're going to be like the next Google or Facebook level scale in the next 5 or 10 years. You don't have to kind of join this space today, but you can join it a year from now, even 2 years from now, and you can still have tons of opportunities. So I definitely recommend checking it out and learning everything that you can. If you have any questions, follow me on Twitter, and I'll do my best to answer.
Yeah, sure. While I check your Twitter account, I think you passed 100,000 followers. Congratulations! And I was thinking about this Web2, Web3 some days ago, and I can't remember that we were talking about Web2 when there was like this other application. I don't know if you remember that, but I was not. I don't think that we were calling Web2.
No,
That was the last thing.
definitely
So
not.
it's crazy. So I don't know. They invented this term probably to have some controversial stuff. Probably, yeah. This kind of versioning, it maybe they drive developers a little bit crazy, but it's basically an improvement, and some things are different. And let's see. Nice, perfect, Nader. So thank you again. And please remember to follow Nader literally everywhere. I don't know, in all his socials. I've put Twitter, GitHub. I think he have also some followers on GitHub a lot, and YouTube. He has a great blog on dev.to, and I think you have a super crazy personal website. It was you. You had a crazy
Oh
personal
yeah. I
web.
don't
Is
even
that
remember
you?
yeah.
That
It was
was
some
crazy.
domain that I used temporarily, but I don't even remember the domain now. It was pretty cool there. I'll have to find it and dig it up and share it again.
I was shocked. Yeah, thank you for your stream. So thank you. We tried to reply to all the questions we had. It has been a really super open session. Thank you, Nader. I really admire you, and I really wish you good luck. I think you are doing an amazing job. Literally, wherever I see you, are always on point to the spaces, content creation. So, yeah, I think that you are really doing an amazing job on basically everywhere. So, yes.
Thank you so much for the kind words, and it's an honor to be here. I appreciate you having me.
Nice, perfect. Okay, we are done for today. Okay, perfect.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.